Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Star Wars Tapcaf Transmissions, the only Star Wars Tapcaf Transmissions podcast available on such networks as this one. I'm your host, Corey, and joining me, as always, is my co host, Mr. EckhartsLadder. How are you doing?
I am quite well. Glad to be back in the good days of Star Wars YouTube with the Book of Boba Fett and
Yeah,
good things on the horizon. I put out a video the other day about fat huts that did really well, so I'm feeling good.
yeah.
Feeling good.
I saw it come up on my TV. It was in my recommended, and I read the title and was like, I could just picture you giggling to yourself as you made that thumbnail.
hmm Yeah, because oh man, my camera is really blown out and really blurry. I don't know. I'm in a snowstorm actually, but yeah, I it was just a normal video, and then I was like, let's make it a little bit silly. So I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty much it.
you had that video today about the
Mm,
Knights of Ren thing that got a bunch of views right away too. It's we're back
yeah,
on top.
so that was kind of interesting because I checked it right before I checked Star Wars leaks before I go to bed, which is a good idea. And I saw that, and it's a really I assume you've watched the thing.
I
It's really
haven't.
you haven't
No.
watched it yet. Even the trailer, the short version.
No, all I know about it is what I gleaned from hovering over your video because I didn't have time
Oh,
to watch it when I'd seen it.
so it's a really basically there was a YouTube channel. I'm just trying to pull it up now. The channel is called Samuel Christopher, and they posted this. It's like a recording of a screen, so not very high quality. That's supposedly a leak for a Star Wars show, a trailer leak for Star Wars show called Knights of Ren. Now, it almost certainly isn't that, but
Yeah.
what's so weird is how extremely high quality it is, whatever it is. Um, like there are some things that, to me, watching it, it looks almost like a scrapped video game trailer or
Hmm.
something, because people compared it to like cinematic captures or others who make kind of high quality Star Wars fan films, and it's definitely like a step above that. And I don't know too many people who are making like quality content that high. Um, Especially with the ships are like the ships people can do pretty well because
Yeah.
they're ship assets everywhere and they're pretty static. But what really impressed me the most was how the character moved. Um, like in how his I mean, video game engines are pretty powerful now, so maybe that's all like preset stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. They have some new areas for shows to open up. There's a lot of games that I'm sure we haven't heard anything about yet with the publishing
hmm
opening up, so maybe it's real.
hmm
But there was a similar thing last year. I forget what it was called or about, but it was kind of the same situation where there was, I think it was the Mandalorian game trailer that was
Game,
just
yeah.
someone playing around with the Unity assets or something,
hmm
and a bunch of people jumped on that. So we'll see if anything comes out of that.
hmm
But before we get into anything else tonight, apparently Dave Wolverton, who was the author
Mm.
of Courtship of Princess Leia, there's some conflicting reports from his
Yeah, I was just
family or
building up
close
to
to
that.
him that he has either passed away or is in the hospital in
Mhm.
pretty serious condition with in a coma with a brain bleed. So whatever his situation is, uh, hopefully it's something he can pull out of. But
Yeah, Courtship
it's
is definitely one
unclear.
of my favorite books of that era, so very sad. Hopefully, whatever the best happens can happen, but
Yeah.
yeah. Get well, Dave, if that's possible. If not, hope everything is all right. But yeah, with that, anything else you want to mention before we get into things? Any other Star Wars news or
Uh,
anything?
no, I think that's it for now. We can tonight we're going to be talking about both Boba Fett episode 2 and 3, more on 3 cuz obviously it's the newer one. We've watched it more recently and I think a lot of the discussions about 2 have already been had. There was a
Mhm.
lot of overreactions on episode 3, I think, so I'm sure we'll get into
Yeah.
that. Uh but yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I thought this podcast was actually going to be about Wordle. I've seen that you've been playing it as well. Did you do your thing
Uh
today?
I did. Me and Dana are we've been getting it on the fourth one every time, pretty much. So
Mhm.
we're
I
pretty
feel like it's
cracked.
not possible to lose. I feel like you have to be like kind of dumb to lose.
Yeah, I've seen some
Because by the
people.
time you get to the end, it's like you've eliminated so many letters.
Yeah, unless you're doing like really dumb stuff like changing two letters or reusing letters, but
Hmm.
it's still addictive. So
Yeah, I'm kind of like there. I've gotten 2 3s, a 4, and then yesterday was a 6. I don't want to talk about that one. Yeah, I felt kind of
mm,
embarrassed about that. It was an easy one too. What was it again? I can't remember. Something
uh,
pretty easy.
I'm if I feel like if I try to say it, I'm gonna say the days instead. But
Oh yeah, okay.
was it Gorge? No, that
I
was
don't
two
think
days
so.
ago. Anyways,
Yeah, I missed that day. Yikes. All right, so let's talk about episode 2 first, briefly, I guess. Um, that it was personally my favorite episode.
yeah,
For those who kind of don't remember, episode 2 was called. Actually, can't remember what it was called.
the twin under the.
Was it the Sands of Tattoo, or what was it called again?
For some
Just trying
reason,
to
I've been less
Tribes of
aware of
Tatooine.
the. Yeah, I've been less aware of the titles here than I have been for other stuff.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, so as kind of a brief summary, this was an interesting episode. My favorite for sure. And which is surprising because it was also the longest episode by far, 51 minutes.
yeah,
Um, but they cut you out of present day stuff, present day, the kind of the modern story, 14 minutes in, and the rest of it is
yeah.
all backstory of the Tuskens and some pretty cool stuff in there. I thought the train was a really amazing set piece. Um, the obviously the whole Tusken culture thing was really cool, but I thought that was a pretty kind of brave decision to have such a long episode and have so much of it be uh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that'd be almost as brave as doing a podcast in mid-January with a bunch of Christmas decorations still up.
Yeah, I know. It's funny too because all of the other decorations in my house are down and
It's
put
all just
away.
concentrated down into your office now. Just a bigger tree shows up next week.
Well, what happened is Kelsey was putting I Kelsey's like the most organized person ever. Like last night I went upstairs and got something from like the fridge and she noticed. Like I was like, "How did you possibly notice?" And she was like, "Well, I noticed the paper towel roll had been slightly moved." And I was like, "What the fuck?" But I took the kids out to go do stuff so she could put stuff away because she wanted to just do it. And she didn't touch my office. So now everything else is away. My office isn't, and now I'm just too stubborn. So I'm like, fuck it.
Well, I also thought the second episode was the best. I actually liked the way the flashbacks were handled there. I kind of
Yeah.
preferred it being almost two episodes where there was the one modern day, and the second part being just sticking with the older stuff because I thought I was kind of worried that the characters of the show wouldn't be enough to carry it when it's just Boba talking with that much in the flashbacks, but I
Hmm.
think the Tuskens were able to really add to that, and even if they can't verbally communicate, which was a bit of a weaker spot in the first episode, they weren't able to shine through as well. I thought it was really well done in the second episode, and I think uh, that's one of the things that, even though there was not really much of a flashback in episode 3, what we
Hmm.
got there was basically undercutting a lot of the good stuff that happened in episode 2. It just seems super
Yeah, that was a
cheap
bit frustrating.
to have invested so much into building up the Tuskens, establishing them as like the indigenous group of Tatooine, and then kill them off screen for a brief moment of character development for Boba,
Hmm.
and like barely even that.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that either. That was probably my main complaint about this last episode. And I kind of wonder whether they did that primarily because they foresaw some of the issues that people were complaining about already about the show not moving fast enough. I kind of wonder about that, but
Well, he also could have just left the
Mhm.
camp and then that was just it. Like the Mandalorian does that and it's fine. Like he could still have been motivated by uh what he learned from there. It's not like it gave him the actual character motivation to clean up
Mhm.
Mos Vespa,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it just seemed to be like it went backward. They went back, showed them dying, or didn't even show them dying, showed them dead, and then that was the end of that. I don't think it was.
Mhm.
I don't think so far at least. Maybe something happens that retroactively makes that a better choice, but I don't think that was the right move there.
No, yeah, I agree with you on that. It's definitely a bit disappointing. So yeah, uh, I don't know. I would have liked, like, people were pretty positive about the kind of deeper look into society as well. So yeah, bit of a
Yeah.
bit of a bummer there. Sticking to episode 2 though, was there any real points that stuck out to you? I really like the huts. I thought they were great.
Yeah.
I've just been really liking the portrayal of Tatooine as a whole.
Yeah.
It's I talk about all the time how it's one of my favorite planets. So I'm one of the people who's actually not tired of them constantly returning there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like there wasn't really anything that stuck out to me that I didn't like in episode 2. I thought it was really
Hmm.
good.
Hmm.
Because like episode 1 hadn't really grabbed me that much, and episode 2 I really got on board with it.
Hmm.
Uh, so like episode 2 probably wouldn't have been like among my favorite Mandalorian episodes, but
Hmm.
it's definitely my favorite of the 3 we've had here so far.
Hmm.
And like it wasn't that I didn't like episode 1 or that I disliked episode 3. It's just I wasn't quite as invested after episode 1, and then episode 3 wasn't quite as good as episode 2 for me.
Yeah, that's what I feel like too. On the other hand, people, and I'm sure we'll get to this more when we actually discuss 3 more in depth, but people are talking about how this is the worst live action Star Wars episode. I don't personally agree with that.
Yeah,
I
I don't
also
either.
say there haven't been too many really bad episodes. The one I think that sticks out to me is the Ice Spider episode from The
Yeah,
Mandalorian,
that would probably
season
be my
2.
worst.
This to me was miles ahead of that. Um, and yeah, I think that, just kind of speaking generally, and this is something we sort of talked about a little bit, people are kind of going in with the wrong expectations here. Like, I read the Star Wars like leaks subreddit after the episode comes out, and like one of the top voted comments was like how it's such a waste to have the enemy be the Pikes and not Crimson Dawn. Like, why does it always have to be some tie-in story to something else? Like, why can't it just be
Yeah.
Boba Fett's story? And like that's why I think a lot of people are going to be really frustrated with like Kenobi. Like, that's kind of something that I've expected for a while, because there's not a whole lot of room to tell like a big surprising story. At least I don't think in that. It's got to be more about the character, and that's sort of what we're getting here. People are saying that nothing has happened. I can't really agree with that
Yeah.
personally. Like, Boba Fett's backstory has been fleshed out in a way I didn't expect. We're only 3 episodes in, and we already kind of know like his crime syndicate, or his new little empire has already evolved quite a bit. He's got new enemies. He's got a rancor. He's got new allies. Like, I'm not really sure what people are expecting, but the fact that some people are so frustrated already indicates to me that like there's just a certain set of people who are probably never going to be super happy with a show that doesn't go full Snoke is showing up at the end, or whatever else.
Yeah, that's always going to be kind of a thing with the scale of Star Wars where uh
Mm-hmm.
when you do have these smaller shows, there's always going to be people who are like, "Oh, why doesn't this connect to 30 other things?" And like, it's nice to have the extra nods in there. I definitely enjoy the broader universe stuff, but sometimes a character piece is just a character piece and there's nothing objectively wrong with that. Maybe it's not
Mm-hmm.
what you want, but it doesn't mean that's wrong per se.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, and I've actually liked how they've done the integration so far. Like, they've done a really good job with like the Max Rebo thing was great, where it looks
Yeah.
to me like it's even the same puppet perhaps. I don't know. I kind of wonder whether it's the puppet or if it's CG. I assume it's a puppet. It looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, but like all of that's been great. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, this is kind of what I was hoping for with the Mandalorian. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it is a bit weirder that like of the two, they're not kind of flipped. At least with what we've got so
Mm-hmm.
far, where like the Mandalorian as this smaller name character is the one that's getting more involved in the broader galactic
Yeah.
stuff, whereas Boba Fett, who we know has these dealings with uh,
Mm-hmm.
characters we're already more familiar with, is the one that's getting the smaller story, even though it is on Tatooine, which is uh, the biggest name planet there can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
No,
like,
that's
sorry, go ahead.
true. No, you're right. In hindsight, you would have kind of expected to be flipped a bit.
Yeah, like there was a lot, even in episodes that have less of a galactic implication, there's a lot of working in either individual characters or elements from other stories. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
you have Black Chrysanthemum, you have who's the Wookiee, who's a
The
pretty
Wookiee, yeah.
prominent comic character. You have the references to like the Rancor backstory, which gets back to Dave Wolverton's introduction with the courtship of Princess
Yeah.
Leia
Had
and
that
how
been
all that's
actually
been.
mentioned before now?
It's been
Uh,
shown. I think they had
I was trying to.
the Night Sisters had
I,
them
was,
in the Clone Wars, didn't they?
I could. That's what I was trying to remember, but I couldn't. I wasn't sure. Yeah, could be. I wasn't sure though.
But yeah, I think they. I think it's been integrated in other stuff like beyond just the expanded universe books before.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that like they did mention that when there was a reasonable opportunity to, like it's still
Mm-hmm.
connecting to other stuff. It's just not. Oh, Boba Fett's next mission is going to be to go assassinate Mon Mothma, and he's going
Mm-hmm.
to beat the shit out of 30 stormtroopers, Punisher style, or something.
Yeah, agreed. It kind of reminds me like them kind of nailing the lore like that. Reminded me of there's a scene in The Mandalorian season 2 when they are going back to Navarro, where they go in the classroom and they're talking about like hyperspace lanes, and they actually give like real information. Where like, if that was in The Force Awakens or something, it would be like, this is the Stars Road hyperspace lane. It's the biggest one that crosses the galaxy.
Yeah.
And everyone who'd ever worked on like an atlas or whatever
Yeah.
before would just fucking shake their head and cry.
Jason
But
Fry is scrambling to rewrite 30 books.
yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah. So I definitely agree with what you're saying on that.
Yeah, like the other thing that gets put that they even chat is arguing about right now are the gang. I really don't agree with any of the bikes are just flat out not Star Warsy. Like watch a
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars is really all you can say to that. I do
Yeah.
agree that there are some potential, like with the intended use of the characters and the bikes as people who are specifically talking about the lack of water access, them being as clean as they were there, that's the quibble that I think is more correct. It didn't take me out of the show or
Yeah.
anything, but as like even the fact that they're poor and that they have these
Mm-hmm.
other pieces of equipment, it's not that rare. And like one of the things with Star Wars on Tatooine that we've already seen or always seen is that people have that kind of stuff. It's just they're taking more care for the cleanliness on these bikes.
I
But
mean, yeah. I mean, it very much reminded me, and I mentioned this of like a Grease or like another like Greece is all about how they've got this outlandish car that looks exactly like, pretty much it's got the exact same aesthetics as the bikes. um and it's like their pride and joy, so of course they painted
yeah,
crazy colors. Or like I mentioned, people were mentioning some British cultural stuff I wasn't really familiar with. For me, I thought like immediately of like George Lucas and like
yeah,
his past movies and his like he's talked a lot about how he likes cars and
the
motorcycles of like the
HX
50s and
1138 I
60s.
think had a lot of that stuff too. Or no,
Yeah,
not
no,
it's
the other
American
one,
Graffiti. American Graffiti,
American
sorry.
Graffiti. Yeah.
Uh, but the like, and there's a lot of poorer nations where there are significant
Hmm.
cultures, even in poor economic groups, about cars specifically using like older muscle cars. Uh, and like there's nothing weird about that. It's just specifically when it's about uh, when it's the water shortage that they were talking about. I think if they had been a little bit dustier, it wouldn't have been even a thing. It probably still would
Hmm.
have been a thing, but it would have been a less reasonable thing. It wasn't enough, even with me thinking they probably should have been dustier to take me out of the show. I do think the chase was a bit slow, but that was one thing where
Hmm.
it kind of felt like there might have been some technical limitations on how they were able to handle it, whether it's because of COVID or something else. Where I don't think they were making that and thinking, okay, we want to be going 15 miles an hour here.
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm kind of have two minds about the chase. I will say too, the speeders remind me a lot of, remember in episode one, they've got like that Naboo security speeder that's like a
Yeah.
kind of a green, very bulbousy. Reminded me of that. I think one thing that people are kind of maybe subconsciously or maybe consciously picking up on is also the fact that it's like Robert Rodriguez. So it does have that Spy Kids feel to it when you add a few things together. Like when
Yeah.
you add the Vespa, as when you add the kind of sillier prosthetics that those characters have, which I like. It does kind of add up, especially like the way it's shot. That some people might not like it. Um, yeah, but yeah, I'm kind of two minds of the speeder chase. On one hand, yeah, it's definitely too slow, and I did notice that when I was watching it the first time. I will say I didn't expect the reaction to be kind of as overwhelming as it was online, but like I think it's fair. On the other hand, though, those streets are packed full of so many details that
Hmm.
I almost wonder whether they were slowing down to kind of show off how impressive the set dressing is for all of it.
Yeah. That could be
Like,
as well.
I watched it again afterwards just because there are so, and like if you pause at any one moment, you'll see like yes, there is the main chase, what's going on in the street, but then they've gone out of the way to build vendors in the back. There's little stories going on in the back of the scene. There's one part that I didn't even notice where like a crate of mouse droids gets knocked over and they're kind of a part of the chase for a bit, and it's just like there's a lot going on here. The
Yeah.
mouse droids, like I think they scare a bantha or something. So it's like there's definitely a lot going on. And I kind of wonder if maybe that's why it was slowed down. But I understand the complaints as well.
Yeah. I need to delete Twitter or something because the complaints about it were super fucking over the top and it's getting ridiculous for like people need to shut the fuck
Yeah.
up. But then the response to it of like, "Hey, I didn't like this," to was it was just mocking people who were just saying calmly and perfectly rationally, "This didn't appeal to me." And
Hmm.
I don't know. It just the whole thing is just super annoying.
Yeah, that's like one thing I've kind of noticed. People find they need to like when it comes to a new Star Wars show on Twitter or like a whatever, they need to make their whole or I guess it's really just making a very strong opinion either way on it and taking it a bit too far. Like uh, I think some people are just going a little too far with. If you don't like the show, that's fine, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
There's a
just
point at which you just say, "Okay, this isn't for me," and then you don't spend the rest of the next 48 hours relentlessly
mhm,
complaining about it.
yeah,
Like if you don't like it, you don't like it. You don't have to like it, but you also
yep,
don't have to go and spend the rest of your life complaining about it. We've seen what that looks like when Star Wars gets caught up on that. We've seen it with the prequels, we've seen it with the sequels, we've seen it with everything in between. Legacy of the Force, Fate of the Jedi, New Jedi Order. It's just Dark Nest. It happens every time, and it's so exhausting.
yeah. And again, like on that Reddit thread that I was in, like another one of the top comments was like Robert Rodriguez should never be allowed to direct a Star Wars thing ever again. Like really, like he's directed two of the episodes so far,
Yeah,
and like if you don't like it again, I get it, but like
yeah,
I don't, I think objectively you can say they haven't been offensively terrible. Like, and I don't usually say objectively when talking about, you know, someone's personal media preferences, but I mean,
yeah.
they haven't like, I don't know that like they haven't had Luke Skywalker breastfeeding a Rancor or anything crazy like that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I his episode of The Mandalorian wasn't my favorite, and like
Hmm.
I don't love the Book of Boba Fett. I really enjoyed the second episode. The first and third have so far been like I thought they
Hmm.
were pretty good, but like
Hmm.
the the over the top rhetoric is just it's just exhausting. I think that's really the only word that
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like I don't know, I'm in for it. It's just like we're 3 episodes in as well. Like let's give it some time. Um, Anything else you want to talk about for episode number 2? I'm just trying to think because we've
Uh,
kind of been jumping around a little bit.
yeah, the train scene, that was fantastic.
Hmm.
Uh, the pretty much everything in how they handled that was really cool. The Boba training montage, I think, was managed to work a lot of character into the Tuskens as well, without having the tools of actual verbal communication.
Hmm.
So, like, kind of what I was talking about before. I thought that was really good too.
Hmm.
Uh, so it is kind of. I was actually probably one of the few people that was actually enjoying how much the split was going on between the two. So maybe that's just a me thing.
Hmm. No, I was there with you too. I thought the backstory was fairly compelling actually. And yeah, the train is awesome. Seeing Tashi Station again was, well, I say again, for the first time really since the deleted scene, was really cool. Cammy and Fixer,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that as well.
I do think it's weird that they're letting the Justice League come in and be a biker gang on Tatooine.
I don't get it. What do you mean? Is that
They're
their
just
symbol or
leaving
something?
JL everywhere.
Oh, yeah, they're hardcore Zack Snyder fans. They're trying to get the Snyder cut over to Tatooine. Not working.
Release the,
Uh,
the release the Mos Eisley spaceport.
yeah. um, yeah. So I thought, yeah, I've been liking this split as well. Um, I do kind of like though when, and I do think the show might benefit from longer episodes if it's going to continue doing the split. And we know there's obviously more story to be told because he's got to defeat the gang, he's got to discover his ship and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, so I kind of wonder whether the show might be suited to having more of like what episode 1 did, I believe, where it's got flashback, wake up, more of the present, then flashback again, then maybe wake up again, where you're kind of mixing the present and past instead of just having half the episode or the first 15 minutes be present, then the rest be past.
yeah.
Yeah.
With the scale of the Empire, like it seems like it's that Boba's just limiting himself to Mos Espa, not even Tatooine as a whole, or whatever
Hmm.
Jabba's broader territory would have been. Because it seems like the
Hmm.
twins are also taking other stuff elsewhere.
Yeah.
Uh, and like he told the guy who wasn't uh who owns the water distribution in this episode, he's like, if you don't like it, you can move to Mos Eisley.
Hmm.
So I don't know if the implication there was supposed to be that Jabba didn't also control Mos Eisley, or if Boba is just localizing a little bit.
I kind of took it as like Mos Eisley is a shithole now, which we did
Yeah.
kind of see in. Actually, I can't remember. Did they go to Mos Eisley in Mandalorian? I don't remember.
Uh,
I can't. Oh yeah, because they went to the
he went
bar.
to
Yeah, they
the
went to.
yeah
Yeah, remember
the
it's in really rough
Killick.
shape. Yeah,
I mean, it was never not in rough shape.
but it's like even like it was still kind of vibrant. Like if you watch the like in episode 4, like it is a pretty vibrant little town. It's like a you know, it's a seedy crappy smuggler's den, but it's got life to it and business going on. And the Mandalorian, it looks like it's been kind of
Yeah, well,
abandoned
I
almost.
mean, if you go to a bar regularly and then some dude gets his arm chopped off in it, you're probably not going back. Like,
I don't know. They didn't really seem to be too troubled by that, from what I remember.
well, yeah, in the moment, you're not going to overreact because, like, okay, what's he going to do to me? But then, like, Greedo gets shot. That's another longtime patron just gone. And he was shot by someone who went on to be the chief of state's husband. So, like, it's a whole thing. The place gets shut down. And I don't know.
Sanitary issues,
Yeah, like, Le-
hair in your food.
the New Republic's definitely coming down hard on the health inspections there.
Hmm.
When, yeah, it just that's the next Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. It was just bankruptcy.
Yeah, I love those books. Like, and one of the things that I love about Tatooine that I'm seeing in this show is it's like a planet that has a lot going on under the surface, literally in terms of like sandworms and dragons and stuff. But also, it's like there are so many of these little like back alleys and like stories going on and little secret smugglers dens, and just all of these kind of aspects that you get a little bit of a hint of even just watching them go into town for the first time.
Yeah.
Like you could tell there's all these little stories that you're not going to hear just by like even how the cantina is presented for the first time, which is one of the things that made me fall in love with Star Wars, and certainly the planet. So I like that the show is kind of exploring that, and I think the train's a good example of that. Like for me,
Yeah.
the fact that the train would be used to move stuff across Mos Eisley, like that's or across the Dune Sea or the Waste or wherever it was, like that's totally believable. Like yeah, of course they would
Yeah.
do that. Fits in perfectly.
Yeah, like you say we're not going to see or hear any more of it, but like it's Star Wars, give it 40 years and there's each one of the mouse droids in that bucket that got tipped over is going to get its own backstory.
Yeah, probably.
We're getting a real slice of life of
the
Tatooine.
Death Star 3 plans. Yeah, we are getting Tatooine slice of life. We
need to bring it back.
And I just feel like they're doing a good job with like a lot of the little details too. Like the first scene of episode 3 was them looking at the map being projected by the astromech droid.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a lot of like really good special effects for a pretty limited shot. And it like just the quality of that adds a lot. Or like the fact that the mayor's house is actually like, or you can actually see the mayor's office from like those long establishing shots of the surface is really cool.
They're putting a lot into just the little world building bits, and it's really really been neat.
Yep. Yeah, agreed.
But we also get Danny Trejo in Star Wars, which who's going to complain about that?
Yeah, Danny Trejo's what, like 70? He hasn't aged in like literally 20 years.
Well, he's not even old enough to be president yet. Like he's got another decade.
Yeah, he's 32. So yeah, Danny Trejo's 77 years old. But
okay, he could be president.
Yeah. He worked perfectly in that Rancor role. And I don't know why I wasn't expecting him, because he's in lots of Robert Rodriguez movies. I don't know if he's in all of them, but I was like, okay, that's the smartest casting ever.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that they'd get him a Rancor when they're saying, "Hey, you need to get out of here," but also put this in that cage over there. I don't think I can trust those Hutts.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with the Hutts. I'm excited to see him stomping around a Rancor, though. It's definitely going to happen. Did you pick up the little bit of at least maybe a holiday special reference when he's like, I've ridden beasts 10 times this size, because he rides like the dragon or whatever, or the dinosaur? I don't know if that was on purpose, but
well, I mean that's where Boba Fett really got introduced. So that was the real Book of Boba Fett episode 1.
I was a little disappointed that he didn't take on Black Chrysanthemum. Like I figured
I thought that would happen as well. He's probably coming back in, right? Like he had
the funniest exit. Like they filmed that so awkwardly. He literally just turns and sprints off into like the desert. Or like he's like, you're free to go, and he looks around, he just fucking sprints off. It's like it was like something out of like that whole sequence was like something out of like a video game. I can imagine like the annoying cutscene of being woken up by Black Chrysanthemum, him beating the shit out of you, then the game over scene as he stands over your mangled corpse and having to do that a million times, then running off into the desert.
Like I thought maybe it had turned into some sort of like Chrysanthemum has a debt to Boba because of it, but it doesn't seem like they're going that way. But he's kind of stranded on Tatooine. He's not going to be like getting in line at a spaceport to get on some transport out.
They did really great with his costume design. I thought sometimes Wookiees who aren't Chewbacca can look weird, but he looks really good.
Wookiees and Mon Cal, like both of them look just super fucked up some of the time.
Yeah, like Akbar's son in the new movie. He's like, I think it's his son. Is it Aftab? And he looks like fucking bizarre.
Well, a lot of the ones in Mandalorian, they don't look bad. It's just they look weird compared to.
Yeah, it's just different because you're expecting Akbar, who's like the big fish, or like Chewbacca, who's the big walking carpet. So
We're probably lucky we're not getting a live action Wookiee Jedi, because it probably would not look very good.
mhm. Yeah, that's one thing. The fight I thought was well done. Like people are kind of expecting the Wookiee to be like, one way, like how he would fight, but like it very much matched what you see with Chewbacca. Like these are extremely powerful creatures, but they're also, it's weird for them to be fighting something that's so much smaller than them.
Yeah,
Like they're strong, but they also have very long climbing arms. So it's like it's a bit weird
Anky.
for them to be, and they throw and they choke. Like you don't really see Chewbacca. You see him push people. You don't really see him like punching people very much.
Yeah.
Um,
Like you hear about them ripping arms off and stuff, but that's about the extent of it. They're
mhm.
brawlers and grapplers.
Yeah, yeah, and I could definitely see Black Krrsantan ripping an arm off because didn't he almost like breaks Boba's back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or when he squeezes him.
He
So I
like
thought that
throws
was
him
great.
next to he does the chewy squeeze, throws him next to
Mhm.
his armor. I kind of hoped that we'd see Boba using some sort of gadget there, because that's always kind of been got the
He
flamethrower,
tried,
he's
but
got the
he just got
jetpack.
his ass beat. Like
Yeah,
he didn't stand a chance, and even like it was like a 6-on-1 at one point, and he was still holding his own. So
yeah,
I do think we'll probably see him again in the future. I mean, his costume and his connection to the lore is too good just to be discarded after 2 episodes, I would
yeah.
think.
You don't make a Wookiee for 2 scenes. It's
Hmm.
too much work.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of too much work, the Rancor, the quality on that was amazing.
Yeah,
Um, it's crazy how they're duplicating these things that in the original trilogy, like in Return of the Jedi, would have been, and I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't hard for them to do it, but just not possible to build on the time scale that they have
yeah,
for this show. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And there's like 7 different productions going on at once.
yeah. They've only got the what, 2 volumes, and they gotta get through a
I
lot.
think they've got 3 now. I think they've got UK. I think there's 3 volumes in UK, Australia, and California, maybe.
Yeah, that's
But yeah, they got 3 in total, or 3 new. So maybe they've got a few.
well.
But
They're also like renting it out to other companies too. It's not just
mhm.
for Disney stuff.
Right, that's true. That's true. I like the ships at the end too. I thought they were pretty neat. The transport ships that were
Yeah,
coming in. They're kind
yeah.
of
The big
reminded me of like,
Gallifreys, basically.
yeah, I was gonna say they must be like some sort of Gallifrey ship
Yeah.
because it looked that could be the Gallifrey GR-105 or something.
All of the establishing shots seem to have some some good background stuff going on, like little ship usage. And because
Yeah.
at first I was like, are they reusing this? But then I went back through and it looks like it's all
No,
very
yeah.
different details every time. It's consistent,
Mhm.
which isn't always the case. So
Yeah, the second episode looked like it had a Razor Crest type ship in it. And also, I thought it was an action transport. It looks like an action transport, but
yeah.
I know that they have an action transport model because there was one in episode 2, and it didn't really look like that. It was very like pointy. Um, so
Did they have one in 9?
I don't think so. I looked and I don't think they did. Action transport Star Wars. My last search is action transport Star Wars episode 9.
Just go through your search history like Charlie's, and it's all just action transports all the time.
Which one is it? Like, is it Action 7 or 6? Yeah, 6.
Action 6 is the wild card.
Yeah. So there's one in apparently according to this, there's one in Attack of the Clones, and then which I said, but not episode 9. At least according to Star Wars Wiki. They could be wrong.
It's never wrong.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah. Do you have any I guess closing thoughts on the episode or expectations for where it's going?
I think I'm really enjoying it. I think maybe by the sounds of it, a little bit more than you are, but not to say that you're not as well. I really like getting soaked up in the kind of this, like when it was called the Streets of Mos Espa, I was kind of excited because that's my favorite part.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty simple as a Star Wars fan. So yeah, I hope we get kind of more of what we're doing. I hope that there is something to keep anyone who's unhappy with the show happy. If not, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. My goal is going to try to not read so much stupid shit
Yeah,
online.
yeah, I'm with you there.
Mhm.
I've been enjoying it, just not as much as I enjoyed a lot of The Mandalorian, except for episode 2, which I really loved. Episode 3 I thought was good. Episode 1 I thought was good. It hasn't grabbed me in the same way just yet. But
Totally fair. I think there's only is there 7
I
episodes?
believe it is 7. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I thought it got announced as 6, but maybe they split something up. But yeah, I'm 90% sure it's 7 episodes.
So, do you expect this to be a run up? Like, is this Mandalorian season 2.5 or is this the Book of Boba Fett season 1?
I think this is Book of Boba Fett season 1. I wouldn't be
Yeah, me too.
surprised if there's more crossover, but other than that, I don't think like Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian are more connected than Mandalorian and Ahsoka or something, and probably even less, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I
So
agree. I think they've had their run in, and I don't think like it seems that all the debts have been paid. Like I mean, yeah, if I also don't really think that the whole Din Djarin being Mandalore thing is going to be the main focus of that series moving forward, but I could see Boba Fett getting pulled in that way, but I don't know.
yeah,
I kind of agree that I think they're kind of going to do their own thing and be connected to some level, but not, tied to the hip.
yeah, like I definitely expect Tamora Morrison to be involved in other stuff himself, whether that's as Boba or as like Rex in the Ahsoka show.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rex is probably dead by now, but who knows? Maybe they found a way to slow down the aging.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see Rex, unless they don't want to pay Timur double duty. But I mean, we haven't really seen any live action clones, have we? Since episode 2, is that the last one?
Well, episode
Well,
3.
episode 3. Sorry, yeah, I forgot.
They replaced them all with CGI for that one as well.
I think they are all CGI, aren't they? In that one, I know their armor and stuff is,
Well, the
but I
armor, but like I'm pretty
can't
sure
remember
there's
their
actual
face.
appearances. Like Cody, doesn't Cody have his helmet off? And maybe not. Maybe I'm imagining all this.
I mean, they definitely have their heads. Like I remember that scene where they're in the Venator, like a
Yeah,
bunch of them have their helmets off, but I couldn't remember if they were just computer generated or if they were actual.
I think they actually
People.
had him and then multiplied him, but uh, yeah, but yeah. Like I think with all the shows, there's they're testing the waters to see which would get a season 2 or not. They're with the typical
Mhm.
like Netflix model. Some are
Yeah,
probably planned for
pure
seasons 2 and
stats.
3
Yeah,
off the top, and then anything past 3 is we'll see.
yeah.
But because a few of them, like Bad Batch, was definitely already in production for season 2 at the first in the
Hmm.
first place. Mandalorian definitely was as well. Is has Andor even announced that there's like season 2 and 3 of that already?
I'm not sure.
I thought there was one where like season 3 was already in production. We haven't even seen anything with season 1 yet.
I'm not sure actually. I'm not positive on that.
But
Yeah.
I could be just making that up, but I think it was like a higher episode count, and then it was like another episode, uh, or another series already in the works. But
Hmm.
like I think Obi-Wan or Kenobi, I forget if it's called Obi-Wan or Kenobi,
It's called
but
Kenobi.
I think that's the only one that's safely one series, and then probably that's it.
Yeah, there was. I'm trying to find because there was a thing that kind of listed which ones will be limited series and which ones won't. Um, I'm trying to look. I can't find it, but yeah, it's all kind of up in the air. I hope they're not too like. I mean, obviously they'll be pretty, harsh about what makes it and what doesn't.
Yeah,
Like it will probably be based partially on subscriber numbers and stuff, but um hopefully they tell the stories they want to. I'm looking at the list here. Andor actually has 12 episodes for
yeah,
season 1, which is, did you mention that? Sorry.
yeah. It's I don't think I mentioned it here, but like it's one of the longer ones definitely, and
Mm-hmm.
Like I that's what I was thinking. Like I think they said the 12 episodes and then we're already into season 2 and then it might be split up with 3. I might actually be
Hmm.
thinking of something Alex said. But
Yeah, it's hard because so much stuff gets just mentioned by
yeah.
like producers, like off the cuff, or like you don't. Yeah,
Like
but interesting.
they're clearly like what they've been doing with Marvel for a long time and now with Star Wars. They clearly want to do a good amount of live action or just have
Hmm.
shows going for a long time, and if certain ones don't work out to the point of getting multiple seasons, that probably just means we're getting another show on another topic, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that either.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I kind of feel like they're probably going to be doing like one live action show on the go pretty much all the time, with like 1 or 2 month breaks in between. So
yeah.
like the Book of Boba Fett ends in mid February, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, we know we've also got Andor and Kenobi to pop in, so that's another like 18 weeks of content. So I assume they'll kind of spread that throughout the year. And then we've got the Mandalorian season 3 as well.
Is Bad Batch this
Um,
year?
yes, there's also the Bad Batch
Yeah.
this year as well. So there's going to be something going on a lot, which is great.
Yeah, like maybe what Clamburglar just mentioned is what I'm thinking of. Andor might have been split into 2 6-episode seasons, and then the third season is something
Hmm.
that might be happening already. But I don't know if
Maybe.
we're actually going to see Mandalorian season 3 at the end of the year. That might end up being pushed back because I think it's earlier in production, and then like COVID refucking everything back up, and probably not
Well,
going to stop fucking everything back
apparently
up.
it is being filmed right now, because there was like a leak that turned out to be wrong, where they are filming it right now, and apparently have been filming it for a while. Um, I really think they'd like to keep their big show at Christmas,
Yeah,
because they've always, like, whether it's been TVs or movies, they like to have something there in December, and I think they probably appreciated how like Mandalorian season 1 dominated social media.
yeah.
Like I can't imagine how much, and that was pretty much right when Disney Plus came out. I can't imagine how much that show did for that platform. So,
But if it's a production issue where they just can't finish the show in
oh yeah,
time, then
yeah.
do you think that maybe something gets pushed back so they still have that slot?
Hmm.
Especially like Kenobi.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, for me it just feels like Kenobi. I don't think there's any. Yeah, I mean, if they do have to do something, I kind of wonder about that. I think that they would really try not to, because I don't think, even with Kenobi having Ewan and Hayden at this point, I still don't think it matches like the public interest in Mando season 3.
Yeah, maybe.
But if they can't, then yeah, I think that's definitely something they would consider.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We've got a few emails that we can pop open now from the last episode and for Book of Boba Fett. All right. We've got people who want us to do things, always. And
Oh
then
goodness.
we have another email from Khalil who says, Dark Readings. Khalil again wanting to know if reading any of the Legends books would be a good idea. I'm also starting my first college course and want to know if you had any tips on getting through the first class. Thanks again, and may the force be with you. Sincerely, Khalil.
Uh,
We
yeah,
do recommend reading Star Wars Legends books.
yeah,
We've read a few on the podcast. So read those ones first and then listen to all the old episodes of the podcast.
yeah. Read the books if you like reading. Read the books. College. What's your one college tip, Corey?
Do co-op. Always do
Hmm.
co-op.
For me, if you're studying and you want to really learn something, rewrite your notes. That's how I always
Yeah.
learned.
Before every
And
test, I'd rewrite my entire notebook. That was the only studying I did. It didn't take as
all
long
you
as
need
you'd
to
think,
do.
and it's all you need to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Because that's like, you just gotta find some way to not just rote memorization, but like actually think about. As long as you can think about your notes in some way, you'll
yeah.
be fine.
Think about ways to. in actual classes, I did a lot of like 3-hour lecture blocks because I
Hmm.
compressed my schedule as much as possible. For a few semesters, I had like 12 hours of class on Monday, 12
Oh
hours of class
God,
on Thursday. Then
I
I'd
could
have a
never.
3-day weekend and a 2-day weekend. It was great, but sitting in 3-hour lectures got so boring. I'd like make little progress bars on my notes and then fill them in as the time went by. Like every 15 minutes, put another
Oh man,
notch.
my undergrad didn't have school on Fridays. It was awesome.
Well, we made our own
I mean,
our own
yeah, I guess you could
schedule,
make your
so
own schedule, but yeah.
co-op is like work placement basically for your uh for part of your education. In Canada, it's illegal to not be paid, but I think in the States that's very different. So,
Yeah, internship. Okay, so next we have Joel. So he's got two questions. Um, he's saying, well, he's saying, I guess this first one's not really a question, that he thinks all Sith related things will be relegated to the Acolyte TV show. I don't think you can. I don't think they definitely haven't said all Sith things will be relegated there, but that's definitely one place where they could come up. Um, for my Mandoverse slash Book of Boba thought, the more I think about it, he thinks Gideon will be tied more with what Palpatine is doing in Exegol than what Thrawn is up to. Gideon eating Grogu's blood. The cloning is far more aligned with Palpatine's goal of needing a new clone body to host his evil essence. And he guesses he's independent of both as well.
well, didn't
Sorry, that Thrawn is independent of both.
Thrawn is probably independent of Palpatine, but didn't it wasn't it like explicitly established that Gideon is working for Thrawn in some way? That's what Ahsoka's interest was. Or am I need to rewatch Mandalorian season 2 because I might be conflating a few things.
Um, I don't think that was ever fully established.
Was it Bo-Katan? No, I think I'm conflating what Bo-Katan and what Ahsoka were doing.
Yeah, so the big tie to Thrawn so far has been really Ahsoka trying to track down just trying to track down Ezra, I imagine.
Yeah,
I can't remember, why did Mando go to that planet? Oh, because he heard there was a Jedi there.
yeah.
Um Other than that, I don't think there have been too many explicit ties. One of the kind of hidden details was that one of the droids on that planet had like the Seventh Fleet logo.
Mhm.
I don't think Gideon has anything to do with Palpatine personally.
Yeah. There's a lot of cloning tech stuff going around. It doesn't necessarily have to be Palpatine. It could be, but I don't think it'll be.
It's like
Uh,
everything Palpatine was doing, we know was on Exegol. So it seems weird to me that there would be like a random research facility on this planet with like Snoke clones. Like I've kind of always rejected that. For me, Gideon just seems like a very power hungry man who wants to give himself force powers, if anything.
mhm. All right. So speaking of Grogu Force powers in the Mandalorian, our next question comes from Martin, who asks, or who comes in with the theory on how Mace Windu could return, saying,
Oh
have
goodness.
Mace replace Jorah Sabayoth. Mace can be a mad Jedi clone that Thrawn finds on Mount Tantus. It would explain why the Empire was so interested in Grogu. They were trying to make a Mace clone. That clone can go mad and take Jorah Sabayoth's place in the story. I kind of hope not. I
I mean, could
mean,
it happen? Yeah, but yeah. As I said, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think Grogu has anything to do with.
yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
I'd hope they wouldn't, but then like I don't want them to bring Mace back, but I also know the second I see like Samuel L. Jackson getting to do that again, I'm gonna change my mind.
Yeah, that's the same thing. I wish there was a way to get Samuel L. Jackson back in. I think he could do a flashback uh for Kenobi. I just, to me, like Mace Windu coming back is like the ultimate fan fiction
Yeah,
thing. And I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, but it's just like there's no thematic reason for it other than the fact that he survived. Like I don't think it adds a whole lot to the character for him to be
yeah.
back. But I mean, I also don't really love the character of Darth Maul, so
Yeah, I liked him in Legend or in Rebels, but I don't love him for how much he ends up showing up. But
Exactly.
I don't know. And I feel like of all the Jedi who would have been capable of like laying low for 20 years when they survive Order 66, Kakruk can pull it off. Mace Windu is not pulling that off.
The dude's
Like
literally got a purple lightsaber.
if he
He's very
lived,
extra.
yeah, like if he lived when Anakin was kneeling and getting knight, like or get I get do you get knighted as Sith? Get confirmed, you get
Yeah.
Sith baptized. Like the door would have opened and Mace would have
A
just
Sith Bree was
stumbled
really
in.
present. It was in lava as well, which was weird.
You were my brother, Anakin. Mazel tov.
Your foreskin is coming with me.
May the foreskin be with you. Anyway.
Okay. Anyway, that was off topic.
Yeah, off topic on this podcast. Never.
Yeah. Anyway, about Anakin's foreskin, I think we were talking about. Yeah,
So-
but yeah, for Mace Windu, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't want it to come back because I've argued with so many people that it's not going to happen. That I'll look foolish if it does. Yeah.
I'd love to have Samuel L. Jackson be able to do something again, but I hope narratively that it's not Mace Windu turning out to have been alive, something like that.
Wasn't that Charlie's guess for when we did the episode on The Mandalorian about who's coming?
He thought it was like Cal Kestis because his
Oh,
entire
yeah.
experience with Star Wars was Jedi Fallen. Well, it wasn't even Jedi Fallen Order because
He's
never
never
even
the
played
game,
it.
Yeah. He still hasn't played it.
Yeah, he got to Kashyyyk, I think.
Yeah.
But we don't know what else he did before then because you can do the planets in a different order.
You knew Kashyyyk, yeah, pretty much right away.
For a video he was definitely working on for 2 years. Yeah. Anyways.
We've got Dav up next who says, Dark greeting. And I will say he's got a New Jersey Devils logo as his Gmail. I'm a Rangers fan, so not a huge fan of that. Just finished reading Fallen Star. My immediate reaction to phase 1 of the adult novels is they were okay. I do feel like they delivered on the promise of showing us a different era. I agree with that. It definitely seems renewed enough to be fresh, and the villains aren't quite what we've seen before. On the other hand, one major criticism is that the overall disjointed feel of the trilogy that each novel has. And yeah, I think that's fair. Thank you for that comment. And he's got a question as well. Did you guys think the trilogy did a good job holding up the premise that the 3 main novels could be read by themselves? I personally was following the story fine until I got to Fallen Order. I think he means Fallen Star, where it was clear that half the characters in the book had been introduced earlier. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I largely agree. Like we were talking about that in last week's episode of like how
the Dren gear especially.
Like, yeah, how would people who didn't read any of the other stuff, and we only went in having read one of the books, one of the YA books, and I think I was able to follow it pretty well even then, and I just don't know what
we definitely picked the
experience would be
right
without
YA
that.
book to read, I think.
Yeah, because Leox and Affy were such a big part of that, but I don't know if there would have been anything that was like that you really missed out on if you didn't have that, like to the point of not being able to really understand what's going on. I think it does pretty well at setting up who they are in its own right, even if you do kind of get the sense that, okay, there's probably another story behind them. Because like you get that with Avar as well, where we know her story has been somewhere else, but for the purposes of the book, her being a background character like that's been in these people's lives, it does feel a little odd at points, but I don't think I'm really suffering from not knowing it. I do still feel like I'm getting a whole story with that.
Yep. Okay. Good answer. I think you summed up my thoughts quite well. We've got another one from Khalil. Maybe we can get that next time. We got a few to get through.
Okay. Yeah, I'll mark this for next time. Very clear.
We've got Inther who says, "Hi, a Fallen Star question for you both. Did Starlight Beacon feel smaller in this book to you? I guess the story sticks to where the main characters are. We felt like we were seeing 4 space station locations, and the thing that's meant to be full of interesting areas." Yeah, I kind of felt like that too, actually. And that's kind of another thing. Like reading the other 2 main novels, you don't really see Starlight Beacon very much, do you?
No,
Just kind of
it's in the background a lot.
Yeah, literally every cover. Also, did you find it hard to picture where the 2 have split apart? I kind of imagined the thing that, because they talk about, I imagined it like the towers kind of broke off,
Yeah,
but the medical, like I imagine the medical tower, or I imagine that because the medical tower is described as a tower, so I imagine that for some reason came with the bottom half, and then other towers broke off and went with the top half.
yeah,
But it's definitely not like a super clean break, because like the people in like the administration were cut off, the big Jedi council tower was cut off.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it definitely is a
There's
bit hard to.
To me, I was kind of picturing it as if like if there's basically long spindle, small section, big section,
Mhm.
another spindle. I was
Yep.
kind of picturing it being between the little section and the big section, but
Yep. What were your thoughts on the size of the station? Just like not enough prior knowledge to make a comparison, or
yeah, like you do get a sense that it's big enough because the leveler or whatever is hiding from them, and like they're a large section of the station that they're kind of cutting themselves off from, and they talk about how they're going to like collapse the
Mhm.
areas and fly through. Uh, so like you get a sense that it's big enough in the background, but there's definitely the story is definitely centralized to the main hangar, the secondary hangar, and like the command center. Then you get
Mhm.
like a few other stories of like, oh, we're going to the medical tower, or we're going to go explore the other hallways uh, where they all turn to dust, basically.
Yeah.
Because like
Yep.
part of it was that it wasn't safe for them to go to other places, which does limit uh where the story is able to be set. Because like the ones who do go to the other places just end up dead, and
Yep.
so I think it works for what it's doing there.
Yep. I agree with that. Okay, next up we have Matrix, who says Dark Greetings. I love how much this Dark Greetings is taken on.
Yeah,
First question: do you think that potentially, since the BOBF is only one season, potentially that is meant to lead up to? Okay, we already covered that. He's asking if it's season 1.5 or season 2.5 of Mando or its own thing. I think we covered that pretty well. Um, in light of the recent Galactic Star Cruiser controversy, do you think it's wise for Disney to give us a full video tour of a hotel in order to regain some sort of trust from fans? For me, I don't think Disney really cares what the average fan. It's such a premium, expensive experience
yeah,
that I don't think they're really super concerned. The only thing I think that they may be a little concerned about is big articles coming out that it's shitty, which there definitely were a few of those, but otherwise, I think they're not.
yeah. I don't think they particularly give a fuck about mass perception of it. And like
Yeah.
I honestly I was gonna think it was kind of stupid no matter what it was. So
Hmm.
I was probably someone who was never gonna be pleased, but whatever. Not that I wouldn't have been pleased, just that I think the whole thing is kind of pointless. So I don't know. It's just that price point for pretty much anything is beyond comprehension for me. So unless like I don't know, unless they could make me a working lightsaber or something, I would have. It just no, but I don't
Yeah. You
I
can
don't
do
get it.
so many
I don't
things
get
for
it.
$5,000.
I
Like,
could buy 5 Titanic Lego sets for that money,
there you go.
and that's 5,000 US, isn't it? So it's even more in real
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, it's 5,000 US.
So yeah, like I could buy so many Star Wars Lego sets, probably or Titanic Lego sets. I could buy like 10. So
Yeah.
I just really want a Titanic Lego set. If anyone hasn't picked up.
I bought Kelsey the Queer Eye Lego set. It's amazing. We haven't built it yet, but she loves
There's a
that
Queer
show.
Eye
I
Lego
quite
set.
like it too. Yeah, it's hold on, I'll go get it. It's because it's really cool.
So I think we've talked about it on the podcast before. While he's gone, uh, I grew up really loving Titanic, and for Christmas, Dana got me a little Star Wars Lego. It's the little Millennium Falcon here, and so I haven't made anything Lego in a long time. I made some Lego with my nephew for Christmas, and now I built this, and I really just wanted to build more. So I thought about buying a gigantic Titanic Lego set, but it's like $700 or something. So I got the notification for when it's restocked. I just sat there staring at it, but I don't want to spend that much money on it. I
So I
probably
got the set here.
see
The
this.
new the new season has like it has an outro where they're all Lego characters, and Kelsey loved it. Like she was watching it like she was
Nice.
watching it like just for fun. So I was like, I'll surprise her and buy it. But it's got lots of details. Like the way the clothes is stored is really funny because you store the torsos on like a rack.
Yeah.
But it's the actual torso, so you can swap it out. There's like a door that you could put the characters behind and give them like change their hair and stuff. There's like back rooms. They got the dog there. It's pretty cool. But it's actually quite an advanced set.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be that big.
No, it's got 1,000 pieces. It's 18 plus. So yeah, it was almost a couple $100.
Yeah, that was a lot more than I was expecting you to come back with, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what I've been thinking is
where
like,
it's gonna go.
if I buy the Titanic Lego and I build it on stream, I will make maybe 10% of the money back, and I can call it a business expense maybe. But
Exactly.
but if I don't get a
Right
Star
or
Wars
off.
Lego, then will viewership even be high enough to be worth it? Because like, I don't know, I'd have to do some market research, see how Alex's streams do, and then divide
This
that
did
by
pretty
about
well.
50.
He's got the thing where if you pay a certain amount of money, he'll drop the set, which is hilarious. I've done that once. Paid him to drop it because him and Molly will have like the competitions.
Yeah,
Yeah, fun
that's
stuff.
maybe I'll do it. You've talked me into it so
Okay.
often.
Yeah, it seemed very difficult. I really had to move on that one.
All right. You've got Christopher's email, I think.
Oh yeah, the last one I believe.
Yeah, we got one more after that actually.
In recent canon media, the Pike Syndicate has made very frequent appearances as antagonists, such as in the last episode. Do you like or dislike the Pikes? I personally feel meh on them. Generic mafia. Yeah, I guess I kind of I don't really have super like attachment to them from the Clone Wars or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Those episodes aren't super memorable to me, so maybe that's why they're cool enough. Though I think their design is pretty neat. I thought the scene of them all coming out of the shuttle or the transport at the end was pretty intimidating. So
Yeah, like I'm kind of glad that it's not just going to be Crimson Dawn or something. I think using this as an opportunity to use the Pikes as kind of a smaller, more local enemy for what they're doing here, I think it works for what the show seems to need. And yeah, I didn't have any particular attachment from the Clone Wars either. So hopefully they get enough room to breathe here.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that's it.
We do have
what we're doing for
one
next
more.
week? Oh,
We
one
have
more. Sorry. Okay.
One more from Dakota, who is asking, my question is, in Star Wars Rebels, when Ezra was in that time space and interacted with the past, do you think that that the portal was a form of flow walking? Kaitis told Tahiri not to become too emotionally attached to the scene where Anakin dies, so those in the past couldn't see them or interact with them, so he can interact with the past. Food for thought.
I think it's a similar idea. I mean,
Yeah.
that excerpt right there proves that it's a similar idea. I don't think it is flow walking though.
No.
I do think it's like I think it's a realm that he's visiting. But I don't think I would describe flow walking quite that way.
Some convergent evolution on Force ideas there, but probably not the same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, next week I think we did say we are doing the final book of the Corellian trilogy. So we've got the showdown at Centerpoint coming up. Get your otters ready. But yeah, so get in
wrestling time.
Any emails you have for next week. We'll see if there have been any new reviews. Leave a review telling us how you feel about Tapcafs and transmissions, or either of the two of us, probably both of us together. And don't be mean because we can't handle it.
I can't. I literally can't.